From spending $250 a month on a luxury gym you never visit, to investing that same money and having $34,000 in 10 years. These are 10 investments that are keeping you poor. It sounds like a clever side hustle. Buy a few steel boxes, rent them out, and watch the cash flow in. That's the dream many fall for when investing in self-storage units. But here's the reality. It's rarely that simple, and it's almost never that profitable. The emotional hook, it's recession-proof. People always need to store stuff, right? TikToks and webinars make it seem like mailbox money. You're sold on low maintenance, low overhead, and high returns. But those numbers, cherry-picked from best-case scenarios. Let's look at the facts. According to industry data, the average occupancy rate for small-scale storage investors sits at just 72%. Maintenance costs climb fast. Think climate control, pest control, security, insurance, and the occasional nightmare tenant, and the biggest killer, zoning and location. If you're not in a high-demand area, you're toast. Take Marcus from Nevada. He poured $160,000 into retrofitting an old warehouse into storage units after seeing a YouTube ad. 2 years later, occupancy stalled at 55%. The building needed a $20,000 roof repair, and local competition undercut its pricing by 40%. He sold it at a loss, admitting, "I bought the dream, but it came with hidden fees." What do the wealthy do instead? They invest in REITs, including storage ones, but with diversification, liquidity, and zero operational headaches. They let professionals handle the messy part while they collect dividends. Here is a comparison. If Marcus had invested that same $160,000 into a diversified REIT, averaging 7% annually, he'd have over $245,000 in a decade with no roof repairs, no evictions, and no zoning wars. Comment if you've ever Googled passive income ideas at 2 a.m. It starts with good intentions, a fresh fitness goal, a shiny locker room, and a green smoothie bar that smells like discipline. You tell yourself it's not a luxury, it's an investment in my health. But here's the truth. Most high-end gym memberships are wealth leaks disguised as wellness. The emotional hook, it's aspirational. You imagine yourself waking up early, grinding on the treadmill next to other successful people, drinking cold-pressed juices, networking in the sauna. It's not just about fitness, it's about becoming someone, and fitness marketers know it. That's why they don't sell you weights. They sell you identity. But the reality, you're likely overpaying for a status symbol you rarely use. Studies show that 67% of gym members never step foot inside after the first 3 months. And luxury gyms, they lock you into annual contracts, add fees for amenities, and count on your guilt to keep the autopay going. Let's do the math. A high-end gym averages $200 a month, sometimes more. Over a year, that's $2,400, not including extras like personal training or wellness classes. And if you barely show up, that's like setting fire to your own motivation and your money. Consider Jasmine, a 29-year-old graphic designer in Chicago. After her promotion, she signed up at an elite fitness club with a $250 a month fee. She went twice in January, once in February. Nothing. By December, she'd spent $3,000 on a locker key she'd barely used. It felt like self-care, she said, but it became another guilt anchor on my bank statement. So what do financially savvy people do? They separate fitness from flash. They buy simple home equipment, join modest gyms with month-to-month options, or use free resources like outdoor workouts and YouTube trainers. They invest in consistency, not aesthetics. Financially, let's reframe that $2,400. If you invested it annually for 10 years in an index fund with a 7% return, you'd have $34,000 plus, and you can still do push-ups in the park for free, coming up a business move that looks smart on LinkedIn, until you realize no one's buying what you're branding. You've finally taken the leap. Starting your own business. What's the first move? For many, it's not customer research or product validation. It's spending hundreds on business cards, a polished logo, a custom font, and maybe even a slogan that sounds Fortune 500 worthy. But here is the reality. If you're reinvesting in branding before you've made a sale, you're playing business, not building one. Why do people fall for this? Because it feels real. That logo, it makes your dream tangible. That business card, it makes you feel like a CEO. You're caught in the emotion of becoming professional before actually becoming profitable. And platforms know it. That's why branding services are everywhere. Fiverr, Canva Pro, online workshops. It's a $20 billion industry that thrives on premature optimism. Here's the fact. Branding is leverage, not a foundation. It amplifies what's already working. But when there's no proven product, no audience, and no sales, you're just polishing an empty shell. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, 45% of small businesses fail within 5 years. And a common thread, spending upfront on image instead of traction. Take Carl, a 33-year-old in Phoenix who launched a tech consulting service. Before talking to a single client, he paid $1,500 for logo design, website templates, and even embroidered shirts. 1 year later, he'd made less than $600 in revenue. It looked good on LinkedIn, he admitted, but no one cared. They wanted results, not my color scheme. So what do successful entrepreneurs do? They sell first, brand later. They test offers with ugly landing pages. They cold call, they pitch. They get real-world feedback and refine their message before wrapping it in visuals. Because a brand means nothing if there's no value behind it. Let's do a quick comparison. If you spend $1,500 on branding before sales, that's a sunk cost. But if you invested that same amount into targeted outreach or product development and even earned a modest 10x return, that's $15,000 in your pocket, and then you can hire a designer. Tag someone who's been designing their logo for 6 months, but hasn't sold a thing with love. It's marketed as a no-brainer. Go solar, save the planet, lower your energy bills, and the best part, you don't even have to buy the panels, just sign the lease. But here's the catch. Leasing solar panels might help the environment, but it rarely helps your wallet. Why do people go for it? Because it feels smart and responsible. You imagine slashing your electric bill, increasing your home value, and telling dinner guests you're energy independent. Sales reps feed into that dream, offering zero down, locked-in rates, and immediate savings. You feel like you're joining the future. But the numbers paint a different story. With a lease, you don't own the panels. The solar company does. That means any tax credits or rebates go to them. And if you ever want to sell your house, it gets even messier. Most buyers don't want to take over a 20-year lease with escalating payments. According to Zillow, leased solar panels can actually decrease your home's marketability. Some deals even require the buyer to meet credit approval with the solar company before closing. Let's look at a real example. In Sacramento, Robert signed a 25-year lease on rooftop solar. His payments started at $130 a month, with a 2.9% annual increase. After 7 years, he'd saved just $1,800 on electricity, but paid over $10,000 in lease fees. When he listed his house, 2 potential buyers backed out once they saw the lease. What do financially savvy homeowners do instead? They buy the system outright or use a low-interest loan. This way they get the tax credits, the long-term energy savings, and the home value boost. They invest in independence, not in renting their roof. Now for the big comparison. Leasing might save you $20 to $30 a month, but buying and keeping that money in your pocket, it's the ultimate slow play. Buy cheap land today, watch it skyrocket tomorrow. You hear phrases like it's the next Austin or just wait till the highway gets built. The idea is seductive. You're not just investing, you're visioning the future. But here's what they don't tell you. Land with no zoning, utilities, or development plan is not a time capsule of wealth. It's often a money grave. Why do people fall for this? Because it feels exclusive. It taps into your inner land baron. They don't see what I see, you think. Plus, the price is usually low enough to feel like a steal. A few grand for an acre sounds like a secret path to generational wealth. But then reality sets in. That upcoming area, it may stay undeveloped for decades. You can't build, you can't rent, and you still owe property taxes every year. And good luck reselling a plot that has no road, no water, and no use. According to the National Association of Realtors, vacant land in undeveloped zones has the lowest liquidity of any real estate class. Translation, you might hold that investment forever because no one wants it. Here's a cautionary tale. Natalie from Florida bought 3 lots in rural Arizona after attending a real estate boot. She was promised they were near future highways. 5 years later, they're still surrounded by brush, without a single signpost or She now pays $1,800 a year in taxes and maintenance. No buyers, no offers, no progress. It's not land banking, she says. It's land bleeding. So what's the smarter play? Real estate that generates cash flow or proven appreciation. Think rental properties in growing cities, REITs that own commercial buildings, or even crowdfunding platforms that let you co-invest in developed projects with actual ROI. It's not as romantic as owning dirt, but it's real. If Natalie had invested that $25,000 into a rental property in a smaller but growing city, she could be earning $400 a month in passive income by now. Instead, she's got 3 empty lots and an inbox full of property tax reminders. Tag the friend who is always saying it's gone now be the next big thing but can get Google Maps to load their land. And speaking of promises that sound too polished, let's talk about the glittery condo that might never exist. It looks sleek in the renderings. Rooftop pools, floor-to-ceiling windows, concierge service. All you have to do is get in early, sign a contract, and wait for the building to rise, then cash in when prices soar. But here's the truth few tell you. Buying a condo is often less about profit and more about praying the developer keeps their promises. Why do people fall for this? Because it feels like you're skipping the line. You're ahead of the market. You imagine flipping the property for a premium before you even get the keys. Add some FOMO and a charming sales rep, and it sounds like a win-win, but then delays begin. Construction stalls. Costs rise. And buried in the fine print are clauses that let developers extend time, change materials, or even cancel the project entirely and keep your money for months, sometimes years. According to a 2023 report from Urban, over 5,000 pre-construction units in Canada alone were cancelled or indefinitely paused in a single year, leaving buyers financially and emotionally drained. Meet Daniel and Priya, a couple in Dallas who put $40,000 down on a two-bedroom pre-construction condo in what was pitched as a booming tech corridor. After 2 years of delays, they were hit with a notice. The developer was invoking a force majeure clause. The project was scrapped. Their deposit locked in legal limbo for 18 months. We thought we were investing in a lifestyle, Daniel said. We ended up with legal fees and zero property. What do experienced investors do instead? They invest in completed properties with a proven rental market, or in real estate syndicates with track records. They look at what's built, what's rented, and what's cash flowing, not what's photoshopped into brochures. If Daniel and Priya had invested that $40,000 into a duplex in a mid-tier city with strong rental demand, they could be collecting $700 a month by now. Instead, they're holding on to a dream that never made it past foundation level. And just when you thought concrete was the only trap, wait until someone offers you a proven system with unlimited income potential. As long as you recruit 3 friends, you walk into a hotel conference room on a Saturday afternoon. There's upbeat music, high fives, and a speaker in a tailored suit declaring, "This isn't just a franchise, it's your future." The promise, a business in a box. Proven systems, brand recognition, turnkey success, but here's what they leave out. Franchises pitched at seminars are often overpriced, overhyped, and under. Why do people fall for it? Because it feels safe. You're told 90% of new businesses fail, but franchises succeed. Add emotional triggers like financial freedom, be your own boss, and leave a legacy. And you've got a perfect setup for a hasty decision. You think you're investing in certainty. In reality, many of these franchise opportunities come with high upfront fees, bloated startup costs, rigid rules, and thin profit margins. According to the Federal Trade Commission, franchise disputes are among the top small business complaints, often tied to misleading earnings claims and hidden costs like mandatory equipment, marketing fees, or territory restrictions. Consider what happened to Leo from Minneapolis. After attending a weekend seminar, he signed on to open a frozen yogurt franchise. It cost him $120,000 up front, plus $2,500 monthly in brand fees. The shop struggled to break even. After 18 months, he closed down, owing money on equipment he didn't own and fighting the company as a legal team over his contract. They sold me a system, Leo said, but all it did was systematize my losses. So what do savvy entrepreneurs do instead? They build small, lean businesses around real demand. They test products, solve problems, and grow slowly, not through hype but through validation. They invest in skill building, not seminar slogans. Here's a financial contrast. That same $120,000 could fund multiple bootstrap businesses or be invested in a diversified portfolio yielding real passive income. Even with a modest 6% annual return, Leo could have grown that money to over $215,000 in 10 years without ever buying branded napkins. Tag that one friend who always says, "We should go in on this together," but doesn't read the fine print. And while we're talking about shiny things sold as sure bets, let's take a look at the collectibles market, where cardboard, sneakers, and nostalgia collide with your savings account. It starts as a passion, maybe even a childhood memory, a rare Jordan sneaker drop, a vintage comic book, or a limited edition card. Why do people believe the hype? Because it feels fun, personal, and just risky enough to seem exciting. You convince yourself it's a hedge against inflation, a cool alternative asset. And yes, some items do skyrocket in value, but those are outliers, not the rule. Meanwhile, the market is flooded with hype, replicas, and manipulated pricing. Let's look at the facts. According to a 2022 report by Cowen Research, over 90% of modern collectible purchases lose value or break even at best within 5 years. Platforms like Stocks, eBay, and whatnot have turned collectibles into pseudo-stocks, but without the liquidity, regulation, or long-term growth. And don't forget storage, preservation, and authentication. That's $600 pair of sneakers. If you actually wear them once, you've lost half their resale value. Take Brian from Seattle. He spent over $12,000 in 2021 collecting investment-grade sports cards during the pandemic boom. So what do financially sharp people do instead? They collect for love, not for profit. And when they want real returns, they invest in proven vehicles like index funds, dividend stocks, or even income-generating side hustles. You can't retire on a shoebox full of plastic cases, but you can on compound interest. Let's compare. That same $12,000 invested steadily in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund over 10 years could grow to over $24,000. No price swings based on YouTube hype, no plastic sleeves, just growth. But if you think collectibles are risky, wait until you hear how people are spending 5 figures to sit in the front row of someone else's illusion. You're scrolling Instagram, and there they are. Perfect lighting, passive income, and a caption that reads, "DM me mentor if you're ready to change your life." A 6-figure mindset, a blueprint to freedom, A personal coach who already made it and just wants to show you how. Sounds tempting, right? But here is the trap. Many influencer mentorships are little more than expensive access to recycled content. Why do people sign up? Because it hits hard emotionally. You don't want to fall behind, you want shortcuts. And when someone charismatic says, "I was broke like you, now I'm rich, and I'll show you how," it taps into hope and fear at the same time. You're not buying a course, you're buying belief. But the fine print tells a different story. The average influencer mentorship costs anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000, often for group Zoom calls, recorded videos, and a Discord server. No one-on-one time, no tailored strategy, no accountability. And worse, many mentors have made their fortune not from business, but from selling mentors. Take Malik from Atlanta. He paid $5,500 for a mentorship labeled as Elite Entrepreneur Coaching. It promised business strategy, financial literacy, and marketing skills. What he got was a Notion dashboard, 3 webinars and weekly voice notes that sounded like podcast episodes. His refund request denied. It was a motivational speech with a price tag, Malik said. So what do wealth-minded learners do instead? They vet before they invest. They look for mentors with real-world results, not just polished content. They choose education over inspiration, books, certifications, free YouTube content, or even paid coaching from proven professionals with measurable results. Now the math: if Malik had taken that $5,500 and invested in an accredited business program, STARTUP Capital, or even low-risk ETFs, he'd be holding real assets or generating income. Instead, he got a digital pep talk. And finally, we've reached the worst offender. A financial move that feels like success but quietly devours your wealth while smiling at your granite countertops. It starts with something small. New kitchen cabinets, maybe a patio remodel. But then the contractor shows you a luxury package. Granite gold hardware, built-in wine wall. You justify it with one line: "We're just borrowing against our equity." It feels like smart money using your home's value to upgrade your life. But here's the gut punch. Tapping into home equity for lifestyle spending is like slowly mortgaging your freedom. Why do people fall for this? Because it's subtle. A HELOC or cash-out refinance doesn't feel like debt. It feels like reusing value you already own. And banks make it feel normal. They use words like leverage, renovation, investment, and unlocking value. It sounds strategic, even sophisticated. But let's break that illusion. You're turning a stable, appreciating asset into a loan and spending it on things that depreciate or add little long-term value. According to LendingTree, nearly 60% of HELOC users in 2023 used the funds for home improvements, but only 30% recouped more than half of the costs when selling. And that doesn't include interest payments, project overruns, or lifestyle creep. Meet Allison and James from Denver. They refinanced their mortgage to pull $80,000 out and redo their kitchen, master bath, and add an outdoor entertainment space. The project took 9 months, went $25,000 over budget, and raised their monthly mortgage by $600. When James lost his job the following year, they were stuck. "We had quartz counters," Allison said, "but no financial cushion." So what do the financially disciplined do? They improve their home using savings, not debt. Or they prioritize value-adding upgrades backed by real market data. Even better, they let their home equity grow untouched by a silent wealth builder in the background, while they invest elsewhere with better returns and less risk. Let's compare. If Allison and James had left their equity alone and invested that $80,000 into a diversified portfolio with a 7% return, they'd have over $157,000 in 10 years. That buys a lot of countertops later without the financial stress. This next video will save you thousands, literally.